welcome to Rathod Science Academy. Today in this session we are going to see important current affairs that have appeared in our today's Hindu newspaper. So let's get started. So before getting started, I want to make a small announcement. We're in Rathod Science Academy. We are going to start new prelims cum mains foundation batch from April 5th to 8th. So try to join this course so that you will be getting lots of insights into your UPS preparation. So what is the syllabus and how you have to prepare and what is the demand of UPSC, everything that you will be understanding for sure. And it will be very easy to clear this examination. Okay. So now let us see the first important article. So actually in our today's newspaper, I found very interesting image. So that interesting image is, see this image. What is this image? Taj Mahal, right? Okay, so here in your UPSC, so where you will be seeing about this Taj Mahal? In your art and culture, right? Okay, so here this Taj Mahal was built by whom? Shah Jahan. So it comes under which architecture? Mughal architecture. Okay, so the key word is Mughal architecture, and which is that example here? Example is Taj Mahal. So from which subject you will be seeing this, guys? Art and architecture, right? So in which subject? That is in your GS paper 1, we have this art and culture. So in this art and culture, you will be studying about this Mughal architecture. Okay, so what are the things that you have to see? So normally, if you see about this architecture, we will be seeing from our ancient period onwards, right? So we will be seeing from our IVC onwards, that is from Indus Valley Civilization onwards, we will be seeing about architecture. Okay, so if you see about just this word architecture, you have to see about from this IVC how this architecture was there in our country. For example, in IVC, you have to see about what is this town planning and what is this grid system, and you have to see about what is the citadel, and you have to see about some important constructions like Great Bath in Manjadaro, and you have to see about great granaries, and you have to see about dockyard, and you have to see about fire altars. So these are the examples of architecture of your IVC. And after that IVC, so which are the things that you'll be studying in your ancient history? So we have Vedic period and we have Mauryan. So here, if you see about this architecture, and one significant thing that you'll see in your Mauryan period. So what are the significant architecture? For example, we have stupas. For example, we have pillars, right? And next one here is you have to see other structures. So entirely after completing your ancient architecture, you will be coming towards medieval architecture. So what changes happens in this medieval period? Yes, Muslims came into India. Yes or no? Muslim rule started in India. That means Islam influence is there in our Indian architecture. That is a combination of Persian, etc. Persian and other countries. So what happens in this medieval architecture? Again, we have to divide it into two types. We have Delhi Sultanates and we have Mughals. Okay? And in this Delhi Sultanates, again, we have different things like slave dynasty we have, Tughlaq dynasty we have, Khalji dynasty we have, Sayyid and Lodi. So all these things that you have to see. What changes happened in our architecture during every period. And in Mughals, so who was the first Mughal ruler? We have Barbar. Next, who was the next? Humayun. Next, Akbar. Next, Shah Jahan. Jahangir. Okay, Jahangir, Shah Jahan. And next one is Aurangzeb, right? So who built this Taj Mahal during this period of Shah Jahan, right? So you have to see what are the changes which happened from this Babur to Shah Jahan. And if you're focusing on this Taj Mahal, so even especially you have to see some facts regarding this Taj Mahal also. So in this way you have to cover entire this architecture part from your art and culture. So if you see your syllabus of your UPSC in the paper 1, it will be starting with art and architecture of different periods. That means you have to see ancient period, medieval period and modern period, and now present, that is after post independence. So this topic is from your medieval, that too from Mughal architecture. So normally if you see about this Islam architecture, what are the famous things that you can see? The first one is you can see arches. So these kind of arches we can see. And on buildings we can see what? Domes. So like this we can see some structures. They are called as domes. And have you heard about this Charminar? Charminar is nothing but we have 4 minarets. So like this we have 4 minars. So these minars are also the specific features of this Islam architecture. And this one is for window. We will be having jali work. Okay. So this jali work is also one important feature. And this one is, will they use any animal motifs? No, they won't use any motifs of animals, but they will be using certain stones, very precious stones for painting on the walls. It is called as Pithiadura. So Pithiadura is also very famous in this Mughal architecture and as well as Islam architecture. And apart from that, uh, have you heard about using of calligraphy? Calligraphy is nothing but they'll be using their own Urdu or like Hindi language for writing something. So that is called as calligraphy. That calligraphy is also very, very important and significant feature of this thing. And even if you have gone to this any monuments or any buildings of this Islam architecture, you will be seeing gardens. So the beauty of this so and so structure is elevated by using of gardens. So gardens introduced by them. And next one here is not only gardens, they also use water bodies. Okay, so in that water body you can see the reflection of that monument, so that again there is further more highlighting of that structure. So these are the some basic things that you have to know about Islam architecture. So now let us see some facts regarding this Taj Mahal. So if you see about this Taj Mahal, so in which color it is? It is white color. So it is made up of white marble, right? So Taj Mahal is an ivory white marble mausoleum, and where it is located? In Agra, right? That is in the southern banks of Yamuna river. So it is very important. It is not on the banks of Ganga. It is on the banks of Yamuna river. Very important point. And when it was commissioned in year 1632 by Shah Jahan. Okay, why? Why he built that? Because it is a tomb of his wife, and that wife name is Mumtaz. So it is also called as Mumtaz Mahal. Okay, and actually this area, if you go to this Taj Mahal, it is covering around 17 hectares, that is around 42 acres of complex it is. And in this complex, it includes mosque and also some guest house, etc. They will be there here. And one more important thing here is, so to build this project, around 20,000 artisans, they worked on this. Okay, and actually it is one of the UNESCO's World Heritage Site now, and it was declared in year 1983 itself. Okay, and actually this Taj Mahal is also declared as a centrally protected monument of national importance in 1920 itself. And if you see about this architecture of this Taj Mahal, so actually it belongs to Islamic, and Islamic, it is the combination of both Persian and as well as Indian architecture traditions here. And it was built out of white Makrana marble. Name of that marble is white Makrana marble. So from where we got this marble? From state of Rajasthan. From Rajasthan, they transported this Makrana marble to Agra, and that material, that Makrana marble is used for building of this Taj Mahal. Okay, and next one is they also use thousands of precious and as well as semi-precious gemstones, that is to incorporate designs, that is for Pithiodura. And Taj Mahal, which is having even 4 minarets on the 4 corners. If you see the image of Taj Mahal, we can see the 4 minarets. I'll show you once. Yeah, see here, these are the minarets. One, two, and here one will be there, and this is four. So we have even 4 minarets. So these are the minarets. Okay, and next important point you have to remember is, so if you go inside, the inner chamber is having a shape of octagon. Octagon means nothing but it is having 8 sides. Okay, and next one here is, now there is a problem for this Taj Mahal. What is the problem now? The changing of color of this Taj Mahal is happening, right? So you have to know what are the reasons. So first one is because of pollution. And you know, whenever there is increasing of sulfur dioxide concentration in the air, what happens? It will also leads to degradation of color of the white marbles. So the one important reason here is sulfur dioxide has considered to be the main pollutant, which is decaying white marbles of this Taj Mahal. And even in 2016, Archaeological Survey of India, that is ASI, cited that yes, formation of phosphorus in Yamuna is a threat to Taj Mahal. So as you all know that which river in India is most polluted, that is Yamuna river is one of the most polluted river in our country. So in that river, because of this formation of phosphorus, so that is the one important reason. So why? Because phosphorus is not coming directly and falling on this Taj Mahal. So what is happening here is one insect is breeding more, and that name of that insect is Goldichironomus. So this is the genus of that insect which is breeding because of increasing of phosphorus concentration in this river. And what happened? These insects are coming and sitting on this walls of this Taj Mahal, and they are shit. They are making shit. That means they are excreting. So whenever they are excreting, especially this insect excreta, which is having some harmful things, especially as you all know that what excreta is nothing but normal in humans also will be having human excreta and as well as urine. So what will be there? We have urea and uric acid, right? In the same way, whenever this insect is excreting on that walls of this Taj Mahal, it is causing green and brownish patches on the Taj Mahal marbles. So for example, if there is any fruit, a tree in your home, so normally during night times, what happens is bats will come and they will shit. Yes or no? So whenever they are shitting, if you watch, it will not go only sometimes. So because of that, there will be some patches of colors that will be seen on your walls of your home if you are having a fruit plant in your house. So the same way, because of this breeding of this insect, it is excreting on the walls of this Taj Mahal. Because of this, what happened? We can see the green and brownish patches on this Taj marbles. Okay, and one more important reason which had been found in the recent study is hydrogen sulfide. So here hydrogen sulfide is released from Yamuna river, polluted Yamuna river. So because of this, it is deteriorating Taj Mahal. And actually this study is also saying one more important point, that is hydrogen sulfide is having more impact than compared to that of sulfur dioxide in our atmosphere. Okay, so these are the things that you have to remember regarding Taj Mahal. Clear? Taj Mahal and as well as Islam architecture from your art and culture point of view. I covered each and everything, guys. So now let us see the next article. So if you see the title, it says that center drops import duty on goods used to make EV, that is electric vehicles, phone batteries. Lok Sabha passes finance bill. So there are two important keywords. So first one is import bill. First keyword is import bill. So what is the second keyword? Fine, not import bill. It is import duty. Import duty. Next one is finance bill. Okay, so where you will be studying about this finance bill? In your GS paper 2 under polity, you will be studying about this finance bill. So in polity, you will be studying about different types of bills. And how many types of bills we have? We have 4 types of bills. What are they? First one is ordinary bill, OB. Next one is money bill, MB. Next one is finance bill. Last one is constitution amendment bill. Okay, so in this finance bill, we have 2 types, type 1 and as well as type 2. So in yesterday's class itself, we discussed about this finance bill very clearly, especially it belongs to which article? Article 117. Okay, so I also said how you have to make notes for all these things in a single A4 size paper, right? So we are not going to discuss this. Let us keep it aside. So now let us see about import duty. So first, what is imports? Imports means nothing but the goods that we are getting from other country, right? Okay. So why we have to get imports? So each and every country is not self-satisfied, self-sufficient, right? If people need to be get satisfied for their wants, we have to bring something from other countries. For example, in India, do we have gold reserves? Very less. But what happens here? People, if they are demanding gold, then obviously our country should go to other country and we have to buy gold in other country, right? And you know that crude oil, India has very, very less reserves, and that is not at all sufficient for our population, right? So if crude oil is not there, do we get this petroleum, kerosene, diesel? No, right? So if you want to run your vehicles, obviously we need that. If our country is not having that resources, means we have to go to other country and we have to buy from other country, right? So those are our imports. Why we are doing imports? Especially to satisfy the needs and wants of the people. Okay, so what this article is saying? So we are going to decrease, or we are going to decrease import duty on certain products. So what are those products? The products which are used to make electric vehicles and phone batteries. So here on those products which are used for production of EVs, that is electric vehicles, and phone batteries, we are going to decrease. Okay, so why we have to decrease this import duty? So import duty, what is import duty is whenever we are getting certain goods into our country, so our country will be importing certain tax on this or tariff on this. So this is called as import duty. So whenever our country is imposing certain duty or certain tax or tariff on that products which are coming from other country, what happen? Their price will be get increases, right? So whenever their price is increasing in India, so these products, they are mainly used for electric vehicles and as well as phone batteries. Obviously what happened? This electric vehicles cost and phone batteries cost will also be increased. Yes or no? So because of this now, here our government said that we are going to decrease import duty on these products, especially used for manufacturing of electric vehicles and phone batteries. So what is the advantage now? So advantage is there is decreasing of price of that goods which are used for manufacturing of these electric vehicles and as well as phone batteries. So that what happens? There is increasing of production in our country. So why increasing of production is important? We are promoting our domestic industries now. So we are promoting domestic industries, and not only promoting of domestic industries, we can also boost economic growth. How we can boost economic growth now? So here we can increase employment opportunities now, right? And next one here is we can become self-sufficient. That means we don't need to import this electric vehicles or this phone batteries from other countries. If you are getting these products, obviously we can improve our make in India also. Okay, so that we can make Atmanirbhar Bharat. Okay, that is nothing but self-sufficient India in this production of electric vehicles and phone batteries. Okay, so these are the advantages I said. Now my question is, why we have to promote these electric vehicles? So electric vehicles are very important in this present situation for India. Why? Because we have a campaign called as carbon neutral or net neutral. Okay, carbon neutrality by 2070. If we want to achieve this, what happens? We have to decrease our carbon dioxide emissions into atmosphere. So how we can decrease this carbon dioxide emissions? So we have to move towards renewable energy sources. So actually, what is the important source of releasing of carbon dioxide into our atmosphere? That is obviously the vehicles, right? So vehicles which are using this fossil fuels like diesel, petrol, they are the important source of releasing of carbon dioxide. That means we have to go for divertification, or we have to use other vehicles which will reduce our carbon dioxide emission. So what is the option that we have? We have the option called as electric vehicles now. Okay, to achieve this target, so called carbon neutrality by 2070, and even Paris climate goal. What is that Paris climate deal or agreement goal? So we have to reduce 1.5 to 2 degrees centigrade of temperature when we are comparing with it of pre-industrial level, that is 1990s. So to achieve that also, we need these electric vehicles. Okay, so here can anyone tell me what are the schemes related to improvement of electric vehicles in India? Are there any schemes by government of India? We have FAME scheme, FAME. So you have to remember this FAME FAME scheme, which is focusing on improving of electric vehicles production in our country. Okay, so all these are very important, guys, and you have to see this import duty from your economy, which comes under GS paper 3. So in chapter called as trade. Okay. Yes, now let us see this article, what it is saying about. our Union Finance Minister announced that a significant policy change we are going to come up. That is decreasing of or eliminating of import duties on essential goods which are used for promotion or the making of this electric vehicles and as well as mobile phone chargers. So the important aim it is to boost domestic manufacturing. That means we have to improve the production of that so and so electric vehicles and phone batteries in our country. So this is a step which is taken by our Union Finance Minister. Okay, so it is very important. And now let us see the details. So here this article is saying that no import duties on electric vehicles battery components and on how many goods? So 35 capital goods. On these 35 capital goods from now onwards there is no import duty guys. And next one is mobile phone battery components are also included. Around 28 additional items related to mobile phone batteries, there is no duty on them. Okay, that means these two steps, 35 capital goods from EV battery and 28 goods for phone batteries, there are no duty now. That means we are focusing on especially strengthening of our domestic manufacturing of our country. And next one here is we are focusing on custom tariff and we are also reducing import duty on certain items. And next one here is we are also focusing on digital tax abolition. There is significant fiscal amendment also. They removed 6%. They removed 6% of digital tax on online advertisement, so that we are focusing on digital economy. So even for digital economy, also for advertisement, there is 6% of tax from the government. Okay, so these are the things, and especially government want to ensure transparency in this taxation system. Okay, and next one here is we are also aligning with the global economic trends also. So actually this step is very important now because here US and between India and US this issue is going on, that is tit for tat tax tariffs, right? So in this context, whenever India came up with reducing or elimination of this import duty on certain goods will be having impact on India-US relations also. So in this we also have to connect with what is happening with other countries. Okay, now let us see the next article, guys. Title says anti-corruption drive led to arrest of 450 government workers for graft since 2021, says Sharma. So we are not focusing on the political things, especially we are focusing on what is anti-corruption drive. So as you all know that if you see the syllabus of your UPSC, whether corruption is there or not. Yes, right. In which subject? In GS paper 4 ethics, and last chapter and the last topic is your corruption, right? So because of this, if you are getting directly the keywords in your syllabus from the paper, you should not miss that. Okay. So from that point of view, we are going to discuss that. So what is the keyword? Keyword is corruption. So from which subject you can see? From GS paper 4. That is your ethics and ethics, integrity and aptitude. Next one is even from GS paper 2 in governance also you will be studying about this corruption. Okay, so what you have to see guys. So from ethics point of view also you have to see what is this corruption. So you have to know the definition and you have to see different types of corruption. So actually I want to say one thing. So how the corruption is given, for example, the bribe. The money will be given directly to the person to make that work done. But nowadays, this type of corruption is in use. That is collusive corruption. Collusive corruption is nothing but there is no direct transfer or giving of money. But in return, they will provide some services. For example, if they want to done the work, for example, if for that so and so officer, if there is any marriage in their family, so in this type of collusive corruption that person can provide like dinner services or like arrangements for the marriage or marriage in a very rich and lavish manner, like that they will be providing certain services. This is called as collusive type of corruption, so it is very famous now. So if there is anything like giving of money or giving of land or giving of gold, like that means we can easily uh, track them and we can easily find them and we can easily punish them. But in this collusive type of corruption, so we can't. So this is the one important problem in our society or in our governance system to control corruption. Okay, you have to see these types of corruption. And next one is you have to see what are the causes of corruption. So why corruption is happening in India? So why people are habituated to give? So if people are giving, they are taking, right? So if you want to bring the change, you have to bring the change from the people itself. And next one is you have to see what is the impact of corruption. So what happens because of corruption? And apart from that, you have to see what are the legal measures government came up and what are the laws or acts related to corruption. And next, last is measures. So what can you do from your side? Okay. So those will be covered from both ethics and as well as governance. Okay. Now let us see this article clearly. So here Assam Chief Minister said that state governments drive. So here this article it is about Assam state. So in Assam state they went for anti-corruption drive, and in that drive around only in Assam 450 government employees they had been arrested. You can see only in one state 450 means you can imagine if all states and if all union territories together they are doing this anti-corruption drives. So how many government officers will be get arrested? Okay. So if government officers will be getting arrested, will we have any impact? Yes, obviously the governance making system will be getting stalled, right? So you have to see in that manner also. So if you want, you can make a note that in Assam, so they went for anti-corruption drive, and from 2021, 450 officers, government employees were get arrested under this drive like that. Okay, now let us see some important details. What is corruption? Corruption is nothing but it is the abuse of entrusted power for a private gain, for their own gain. So they will be abusing their power. This is called as corruption. So private gain is nothing but they can get money or they can get lands or they can get some illegal things like that. Okay, it can impact our development in various ways. Okay, if you see about the legal framework for fighting against corruption in India, yes, we have laws. What are they? You know about this Prevention of Corruption Act of 1988. So what is this act is saying that we have to give certain penalties in relation to corruption by public servants and also who are involved in this act of corruption. Okay, and even amendment was made recently near 2018. Under this they criminalized both bribe taking by the public servants as well as bribe giving is also is also a crime, and bribe taking is also a crime under this recent amendment of 2018. That means, so if they find if anyone is giving the bribe also, they will be getting arrested under this Prevention of Corruption Act of 1988 under this 2018 amendment. And next one here is we have one more act, very famous act, that is Prevention of Money Laundering Act of 2002. And this act which aims to prevent instance of money laundering, and even it will be prohibiting the use of proceeds of crime in India. Okay, and what is the punishment? Punishment is about 10 years of imprisonment, and as well as they will also confiscate the property which is attached to that. And next one is we have one more act, that is the Companies Act of 2013. Okay, so it is focusing on prevention of corruption and as well as fraud in corporate sector, especially in companies. We have Companies Act. And this one is we have IPC, and this had been replaced. So see about the new thing. And this one is we have FCRA, that is Foreign Contribution Regulation Act of 2010. It will be regulating the foreign contributions in hospitality and hospitability or hospitality by these individuals and corporations. So all these things are there in our country. So here if you see the regulatory framework, so we have certain organizations. In your Polity Lakshmikant, you will be seeing about this Lokpals and Lokayuktas, right? So they are the organizations which are responsible for taking of cases against this corruptions in this public servants. And especially this Lokpals and Lokayuktas is also seen in news because of ambit of High Court judges to be included under this or not. So Lokpal is saying that yes, we should also include these High Court judges under this jurisdiction of Lokpal. But Supreme Court gave a judgment that no, how you can include that? So they are constitutional bodies, so you should not include like that. So the issue is going on, and even final hearing is pending. So if final hearing will be given, then you have to add a note on this. What is the jurisdiction of Lokpal and Lokayuktas? Okay, so if you see the regulatory framework, we have this Lokpal and Lokayuktas Act of 2013, and it will be providing for amendment for central and state governments. That means at the central level we have Lokpal and state level we have Lokayuktas. That means if any public servant who is doing central government job, so if they had this cases of corruption against them, who will be taking care of Lokpal? The state governments officers will be taken care by this Lokayuktas. And these bodies are required to act independently from government, and even they are empowered to investigate allegations. So these bodies are there for do investigations regarding this allegations of corruption against the public servants. And these public servants even includes prime minister and other ministers. Okay. And actually, we have even CVC, that is Central Vigilance Commission, second one. So when it was created in year 1964, and it became an independent statutory body in 2003 by the Act of Parliament, and it also mandated to vigilance. So it is also overseeing about administration itself. Okay, and now let us see the next article. Yeah, title says India losing 3% of GDP to road accidents, says Nitin Gadkari. So actually, we have studied about different types of or modes of transport in India. Yes or no? So here in geography, and especially in this human and economic geography, you have this topic. And even in economy also, we have this topic called as different types or modes of transport, right? So here, as I said, we are having lots of accidents on these roadways. So here this article is saying that because of this accidents, around 3% of our GDP is getting affected. Okay. Whenever you are writing about road accidents related answer, so try to write introduction about the loss of GDP. So how many accidents are happening in India data. If you are writing with data, it will be a very good introduction, guys. Okay. So here if you see this article, it is saying that very important points given here. Please make a note here, guys. So India is losing 3% of its GDP to around 5 lakh road accidents. How many road accidents are happening yearly? 5 lakh road accidents are happening yearly in our country. So this is a thing which mainly said by our Union Minister of Road and Transport itself. So here now the Ministry of Road, Transport and Highways, he says that yes, to address this problem we are coming up with technology interventions for road safety, US India partnership. So actually here whenever you are writing about India US relationship also, you can add this point. So we have even collaboration between these two countries regarding technology transfer for how to reduce this road accidents. Okay. Yeah, and one more data which is given here. India registered around 4 lakh 80,000 accidents, and out of this around 1 lakh 88,000 deaths are happening. And who are the people who are dying here? That is demographic dividend, the age between 18 to 45 are dying. So if the age between 18 to 45 are dying means what happened? Our human capital will be decreasing, right? Our demographic dividend will be decreasing. So whenever the people between this 18 to 45 years are dying means what happened? There will be increasing of burden on government also, because now government need to give the pension for these people who died, right? For example, husband died. For a widow, government will be giving pension. That means increasing of burden on the government. And even these people will be becoming poor now, because whenever a bread earner of a family is dying means entire family will be coming under below poverty line. So now government need to provide more schemes for health, more schemes for education, for their food security, decreasing of malnutrition, everything the government burden will be increased, right? So because of this, government want to come up with this addressing of these accidents through international collaboration with US. Are you understand what I'm saying here? Okay. Yeah, these are the things that mainly said. Okay, and now let us see the next article. Title says search for universe first water could reset timeline of life origin. So actually this article is important from your science and technology. It is talking about origin of water. So what is the water? Water, can you tell me the chemical formula? H2O. H2O is the formula of your water, right? So actually now the research are happening. In that research they are studying about when this water which formed. So with the formation of the water only the life started on the earth, right? So if you want to know the clear-cut details of the booming or the starting of life on our earth, we have to know about the formation of this water, when this formation of water happened. And on this, the research is going on. So if you see here, this image which had been released by NASA's Hubble Space Telescope. So it is mainly studying about the small section of expanding remains of a massive star which had exploded around 8,000 years ago. Okay, and now this area is called as Whale Nebula. So actually, you know that whenever you are studying about formation of universe, you will be studying about different theories. For example, nebular theory, for example, Big Bang theory, like that, right? So here this article is saying that water is the third most abundant molecule in our universe. In our entire universe, we have abundant molecule, that is our water. Water is nothing but H2O. So after hydrogen and carbon monoxide, but its origins are obscure. So actually we have three most abundant materials in the universe. First one is hydrogen, second one is carbon monoxide, and third one is water. So on this paragraph also you can get a prelims based question. So which of the following are the abundant in our country? Sorry, in our universe, like that. So first one is hydrogen, second one is carbon monoxide, and third one is water. And now the researchers found that yes, the conditions required for the water existed around the time was the first supernovae. So actually, do you know about this Goldilocks zone? Have you heard about this word Goldilocks zone in your science and technology? So actually, this article is saying that yes, the three important components are there in our universe very vastly. So what are they? We have hydrogen, carbon monoxide, and water. So actually, water. Can you tell me the different forms of water? Water can be seen in the form of gaseous state, that is water vapor. So water is seen in the form of liquid stage, liquid water, and even in the solid form, like ice we have, right? So for the existence of the life, water should be in which form? In liquid form. So Goldilocks zone, it's a zone in our universe where water will be existed in the liquid form. So whenever water is existed in the liquid form, then only the life will forms. Okay, so here researchers found that yes, the conditions for water to be existed, it is around first supernova. Okay, so whenever the gigantic starts, whenever exploded, for example, you know about this Big Bang theory. So what happened? Universe which started with a small point expanded, 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 and suddenly bursted, right? That is a Big Bang theory. So whenever this bursting which happens, what happened? Hydrogen, oxygen, and other elements, they got combined. So whenever hydrogen and oxygen got combined, what happened? H2O got formed, and water formed in this first supernovae phase. So it is a thing which mainly said. And in the recent findings, they said that the first supernovae produced enough water, and that led to the formation of infant universe. So this means the planets could be formed before the first galaxies. There was enough water to kickstart the life. Okay, so before formation condensing of this planet itself, the water is present. So because of this water which is present on the planet, that led to boosting of the life. So that is the thing which mainly said here. That's it. Nothing more than this. Just see about your Big Bang theory, guys. And next article, you see here. How is an in-house inquiry conducted? So actually this article is talking about judicial misconduct. So when you study about this Supreme Court or High Court, whenever studying about judges, you will be studying about what is their eligibility criteria, right? And you'll be studying about appointment process. You'll be studying about removal process. So on what basis the removal will be done? Based on the misconduct, right? Misconduct. So whenever any case which had been filed on a judge of High Court or Supreme Court regarding misconduct, so what happens? The removal of judge will be happening, right? So what is that process which is given in this article? Okay, so now what is the issue here is now Chief Justice of India. Now Chief Justice of India constituted a in-house committee to conduct inquiry on allegations on misconduct against Justice Yashwant Verma on one judge. So there are some complaints which came regarding misconduct. So because of this, now CJI appointed one in-house committee. Okay, so you have to see about what is in-house committee. So when it had came up, and you have to see about who are the members of this in-house committee and what are the proceedings will happens, and how the removal and removal or retiring of the judge which happens, that you know this, that you need to know this for sure. So here this article is saying that Chief Justice of India has constituted an in-house committee to conduct an inquiry into allegations of misconduct against so and so judge. And this one is, actually there is a probe, or what are the allegations? Allegations are misbehavior against judges of higher judiciary, and now inquiry is going on. So now let us see about what is this in-house inquiry. So actually Supreme Court introduced this in-house inquiry procedure in year 1999 itself. Make a note. So when this was came up in year 1999, and this was promoted by C. Ravichandran Iyer versus C. Ravichandran Iyer and also Justice A. M. Bhattacharya case. So in this case of 1995, so they came up with this formation of this in-house inquiry procedure. And this one here is, it is a 5-member committee, and this framework came up in year 1997 and finally it was adopted in year 1999. So what is the procedure? So this in-house inquiry procedure begins when a complaint against a judge is received by CJI. So it may be CJI or it may be High Court Chief Justice or President. So whoever it may be, so whenever they are receiving any misconduct related allegations against a judge, they will form this in-house inquiry. Okay, and based on that report they will be going for deeper investigation. So first what happens, if they found that so and so allegation is credible, so CGI may ask the concerned High Court Chief Justice to conduct preliminary inquiry. The first they will conduct preliminary inquiry, and based on that preliminary inquiry, if they find that this report is okay, then they'll go for deeper investigation. And for that deeper investigation of CJI will constitute a 3-member committee. So in this 3-member committee, we will be having 2 chief justices and 1 high court judge. And this committee will be conducting inquiry. Okay, and final report will be submitted to CJI. And based on that, if the misconduct is proved, means what happens? Here the judge will be warned or advised, and the report kept very confidential. And this one is, if there is any serious misconduct, then the judge is asked to be resigned or retire. Okay, if that so and so judge is refusing for retiring or removal, then the judge may be relieved from the judicial duties. Okay, CJI may also recommend for impeachment of that so and so judge. So this is a process which happens in your inquiry committee. And next one is Beam 3.0 launched with option to track shared expenses. So actually you have to see about if there is any government related app in news, means you have to know what are the details of that app. In 2019 prelims there was a question regarding Beam app. So what are the following, or the which are the following or the features of the Beam app? So just Google what is Beam 3.0 and see the difference between what is a Beam 1.0, 2.0 and 3.0. It is very, very important, and you can get a potential prelims based question on this topic. Clear? So these are the important topics that appeared in our today's Hindu newspaper. So by this I'm concluding. Thank you so much guys for watching, and please do like this class and share this class to your friends, and do subscribe to Rathod Science Academy. Don't forget.